Hello everyone, so the seventh meta principle, increase your advantages, decrease your opponents. Yeah, so that seems like a very simple meta principle, but it's actually the overarching theme behind many principles. That is the case with almost all meta principles, but this is a very important meta principle. Now, of course, I have to mention chess is a zero sum game. Zero sum game. What that means in game theory is that when you get an advantage, your opponent will have a disadvantage. So you gain an advantage, your opponent will have a disadvantage. So what this principle tells you is that usually we think of increasing our own advantages, but we don't think of decreasing our opponents. So when you decrease your opponent's advantage, you also gain an advantage in turn. You're not just decreasing his advantage, like if you consider these two bars, you're decreasing his advantage, but at the same time, since this is a zero sum game, you're increasing your own advantage. Um, um, so that's what is meant by this meta principle. So please keep this in mind. It's very important. All right. So let's move on to the famous game. All right, guys. So for the famous game, we're going to be taking a look at a game between Mr. Petrosian and Bronstein, two very strong players, of course. One was a world champion, one was almost a world champion, and not only are they strong, but they're legends in their own right for various reasons. Anyway, let's keep going here, and we go to this point. So here, white is simply much better, primarily thanks to his better placed pieces. You can see here, for example, his bishop is doing something, this bishop is just not doing anything, this bishop is kind of blocked by the pawn. Knights have some potential over here, this knight also potential over here. Some of this, the rooks could be coming into play very quickly. Queen is nicely attacking some squares. So yeah, and to increase his advantage, white plays e5. Now why is this such a brilliant move? e5, it increases Petrosian's advantage because it gains space, it puts a pawn on an advanced square, it allows these ideas, and in turn it offers, now bishop g7 was played in the game, but it offers, if c takes d5 does occur, e takes f6, a decrease of your opponent's advantage. So e5, it gains an advantage in that it gains space and places for the pieces, like knight e4, and it decreases the opponent's advantage because here the opponent has the bishop pair, right? While we don't. That's an advantage of 0.5 pawns usually. There's a principle about that as well. But here, if e takes f6 is played, our opponent no longer has the bishop pair. And actually this position is tremendously strong for white because he has a very nice grip over the d4 square with his knight. So that basically means e5 is a genius move because it gains an advantage and at the same time it decreases the opponent's advantage should he go for that c takes d5 line. I'll just for posterity's sake keep going with the game. We'll see it till its completion. So Petrosian doing very well here. He doesn't have the bishop pair, but it doesn't really matter here because his pieces are so much more active. Just look at that bishop on e8. It really looks silly, right? And now he trades into this winning endgame and he wins the game. So very nice display by Petrosian. Alright, let's move on to the other game section. Okay, so for the other game section, this is basically only one example, not really a game, so to say. Yeah, so here what occurred, I created this position by the way, so I wanted to show something. First of all, let's analyze the position or evaluate. So white is clearly better, again thanks to the placement of his pieces. Compare white's light squared bishop, for example, to black's dark squared bishop. It's a clear advantage. This guy has scope. This guy has no scope. A gaming term, right? And well, black does control one of the open files on the board, while white's rooks are looking silly over here, defending d4. So the best move in this position is to decrease your opponent's control over the open file. And how do you decrease your opponent's control here? You play bishop c6, denying this rook access to this square. It has to move somewhere, and now your opponent He technically does still control the open file, but that can easily be challenged. While this bishop can be cemented over here, actually, in fact, I think d5 is a very good move here before playing this, because if we play this maybe after the trades happen, our opponent is able to play this and get his bishop some scope. Yeah, but that's beside the point over here. So yeah, bishop c6 is the best move on the position. Believe me, I checked with the engine. And yeah, that decreases your opponent's advantage. Very important. Alright, and with that, I hope you got something out of this video, guys. Very important meta principle that's not often thought about. So yeah, hopefully you got something out of it. Alright, take care.